Welcome back to the Georgia Show. I'm here in the great state of Texas. I'm here with Bill Quinn, and it's not the Alamo behind me, Bill, but it's an old jail, interestingly enough.
It still looks pretty darn historical. It's cool looking.
We welcome to the Georgia Show. We're brought to you by the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com. Sign up for our socials. We got a lot to go through today, so I'm going to get right to it. Bill, what do we have?
So we're gonna cover some things that are now being discovered regarding the use of airports to traffic illegal immigrants. We've known about this in Georgia for a better part of 2 years, but now it's becoming more known how this came to be, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the interesting things going on with Pam Bondi and the Epstein releases, and we'll talk about some of the things that are they're kind of around the periphery of the Epstein, but they're valid questions. We'll get the chance to hear from one of the candidates here in Georgia running for state senate and hear about her plans and the reasoning and motivation for running, and a couple other things before we're done. So we will get on with it.
Well, I think her name is Lee Hill. Is that correct?
Lee Hills, yeah, that's correct.
Hills. And then Eugene, you may pop in. We're not sure, out of the 1st district. He's running for Congress there. But sign up for our no-ad subscriptions. It's really a way you can help us. Go to my.cdm.press. That's my.cdm.press. And you can get all of our content across all of our sites. We are doing a lot of reporting, as you can see, all over the country. A lot going on in Texas with the Muslim issue, with just the border, everything. So that way, with my.cdm.press, you can get access to everything and not see any advertisements pop up on your phone, which people don't like, I understand, but we got to make money. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you, Bill. Let's get rolling.
Okay, sounds good. So we reported, based on Colton Moore's discovery of illegal immigrants being trafficked through Hartsfield a couple of years ago, the beginning of 24. And now it comes out that the Biden team was actually, apparently, in some cases, forcing airports to support the flow of migrants, often illegal, often undocumented, through these airports. Let's take a look at the report.
State's Deputy Assistant Secretary of Transportation, Oliver McGee, who joins me now. All right, good evening, Mr. McGee. How are you?
Good evening, Judge. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. I got to tell you, according to the report from the Washington Examiner, they've been allowing the illegals to fly to other parts of the country without proper identification. And they do so based on just an asylum form 862, I-862. Now, I'm going to let you talk, but I got to tell you, I just landed yesterday. You have to take off your coat, your shoes, your jacket. You have to take your phone out. You can't have water. And illegals are being allowed to fly. Is there any truth to this TSA, to this Washington Examiner report?
Well said, Judge. You know, I always say I like my borders like my sodas with lots of ice, but right now I want a little more TSA on top. Because right now, trying to ask for you to present a court document for a notice to appear in your court, Judge, is unacceptable for aviation safety and security if you're allowed to board an airplane with that. Mainly because these documents can be fake, even Xerox.
Let's take that out for a minute, and we'll go to an on-the-ground report that shows some of this happening, too.
Got 7 NGOs and security, private security here at the gate. Flashing their lights on me. I'm at the easement. We got 60 illegals in the bus.
The Biden administration allegedly pressured airports to house migrants despite warnings it could compromise safety and put travelers at risk. That, according to a new bombshell Senate report that says the Biden administration directed federal agencies to find airport facilities that could be used as shelters or migrant processing facilities. At least 11 airports were allegedly asked to find space, including Chicago's O'Hare and JFK here in New York.
You have a driver's license on? Hey. I'm not getting in their faces. You don't need to do that. I'm not running away. Officer. Got 7 NGOs and security, private security here at the gate.
Okay, so you begin to get the sense that this is not just something that we found happening in Hartsfield. Although we do want to go back just for a moment and have people recall what Colton Moore and members of his team spotted when they went into Hartsfield Airport.
How's it going? You guys documented or
Yeah. Yeah.
transporting anybody anywhere?
Yeah, we're all getting them placed to where they need to be.
Okay, where do they need to be?
All over the place.
Where are they coming from?
As in, like, country of origin and stuff like that. Also all over the place.
All over the place?
Yeah.
You know when they come into the U.S.?
Why, can I ask you why you're asking these questions?
Yeah. The senator from Northwest Georgia.
Yeah.
And not a big fan of human trafficking. Just want to make sure
Yeah.
everything's above board here.
Yeah, so these are just recently documented travelers getting released from ICE, getting to where they need to be.
So you're for a company of volunteers.
Yeah.
Team Liberty.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a non-government organization? What is that?
Yeah.
So you receive, how'd you get the job?
I'm a volunteer. I mean, there's people that they get dropped off here from ICE detention with no help, so we just,
All right.
yeah.
Sounds good, man. Care if we,
Good?
Yeah, you care if I come in? Just take a little closer look.
I mean, you can stand right there. I don't know you I don't know you very well either, so.
Yeah, just let me get a video if you don't mind.
Actually, you cannot get a video.
No.
You cannot get a video.
No, you're not allowed.
You're not allowed. You're done.
Okay.
And that was the end of the video. Now, within a day or two, Colton Moore spoke on the floor of the Georgia Senate and reported his findings, reported how he was told about this, and reported the video. And of course, everybody was, I'm sure, aware of it by that time. And what followed was a deafening silence from everybody: Kemp, Burt Jones, John Burns, and the entire Senate and and House. Unbelievable. And now that we learn that this was part of a broader plan, it's even more troubling. So we will continue to delve into that in the coming days. But we wanted to bring that up because, we were hoping that this was something that, was limited, but appears it was much broader than what we thought at the time.
That's really interesting, Bill, that it's nationwide. We've seen so many of these tactics just across the country. And that's the beauty, the secret sauce of CDM, is we've been able to connect all these dots. So I find that fascinating.
Yeah, and this is not going to be over. There's going to be some questions that need to be asked during this campaign season of the folks that were silent. Why? Why was nothing done? Less than a month after Colton spoke on the floor of the Senate, Laken Riley was dead in Athens. Why?
And you've seen a continuing effort to cover things up, Bill. We've got new competitors who have entered on the scene coming at the same time as us in Georgia on the Sunday at 2 p.m., which I find interesting. And you've also just got a lot of people not talking about what's going on. And we've got the Twitter X apocalypse, I'm calling it. We're on day 5 of our squash down on X. We're at 6 viewers, where we literally have hundreds at this point. So across 5 X channels, we've got 6 people watching because it's not getting out to the audience. But we're on Rumble and YouTube and on Gettr, so you can find us there. Back to you.
All right. We will find ways to get this out. People have a funny way of finding us because they know that there's something to learn here. All right. Let's see. We have we'll cover one more topic here, and then we'll take a break and come back with our guest. This was very interesting. Most people are aware that the Epstein documents have been coming out. They were somewhat redacted in the first release iteration, and they were redacted through some of the names involved. They were redacted through some of the content that was horribly concerning. And it turns out that they provided an unredacted version of the documents to Congress. Well, when Pam Bondi spoke in front of the Senate, you have to kind of picture this. You're sitting at a table when you're testifying and attending before the Senate. You have cameras all around you. They circle you. They're in front of you. They're behind you, all over the place. So anything you pull up that you show is probably going to get photographed. So isn't it interesting that she chose to open this folder? And what did she show? She showed a record of one of the, I think it's one of the House members, search history on the unredacted portions that they had made provision for. So they'd set up apparently systems that the House members or Senate members could sit down at and perform searches. Well, they tracked it, apparently. And immediately when this was known, members of the Senate, members of the House, everybody's throwing up their arms. Oh, this is a travesty. This is an abuse of justice. This is that, calling it everything under the sun. But why would they do this? Well, if someone thought their name might show up somewhere in these documents, wouldn't they want early warning? And one way to get that is to look at an unredacted version before it's made available to the public. So very, very interesting. You can read a lot more about who looked in what they might have been looking for. But shortly thereafter, I believe last night, there was an unredacted version made available now to the public. So many of the names that were hidden are no longer hidden. But what they did do was find out what people were looking for. And if it doesn't show up in the documents, perhaps now there's a hint as to where to look to find something that might have been difficult to find otherwise. And they put
I'm not sure the word honeypot is the right description of that, but
probably not in this case, but something similar to that.
Yes.
So it's fascinating, and what a smart move. Goodness gracious. Anyway, so we will see what comes of that. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the goings on with the Epstein releases. Again, we're going to leave it to people for the moment to see some of the content, because it is I'll call it beyond troubling. But we will begin to ask some questions that may lead people into finding and doing their own research into various areas that we think are important. We'll cover that later in the show. You want to take a break for a moment and then we'll come back?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. We've been out in front early on a lot of this stuff. And one of the areas we've talked about over and over is the depopulation agenda. And if you look at the emails between Epstein and the Princess of Norway, they essentially are talking about stopping humans from making more humans. So we were, again, very correct and early and right. So I just want to pat ourselves on the back for that one, but we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this, and we'll have more of the skiff. Stay with us.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, a family-owned and operated investment advisory practice. I'm a certified portfolio manager, and my job is to help you make better decisions with your money. One of the things we try to avoid is investing in companies that push the woke agenda. If you're invested with one of the big firms out there, there's a pretty good chance that you're feeding the beast that hates your values. Our company is 100% conservative, and we'd love to have an opportunity to work with you. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big, proud American Eagle logo.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. I'm going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
So, Bill, just let me give a shout out to Avelo Airlines here real quick. If you're looking for a smarter, easier way to travel, Avelo Airlines is here to make flying feel simple again. With affordable fares, nonstop flights, and a refreshingly smooth experience from the moment you book, Avelo is changing the way people think of air travel. Avelo keeps things simple, no hidden fees, no confusing rules, just straightforward service and friendly crew members who care about getting you where you want to go. Whether you're heading to the beach, visiting family, or planning your next adventure, Avelo offers convenient nonstop flights to some of the most popular destinations like Florida, the Carolinas, Puerto Rico, and more. Avelo is committed to giving customers more choice, more value, and a travel experience that feels effortless. So if you're ready for a better way to fly, make your next trip an Avelo trip. Book now at aveloair.com. That's aveloair.com. Back to you, my friend.
Okay, very good. We are very delighted to welcome in candidate for the state Senate, District 56, Lee Hills. Ms. Hills, thank you so much for making time to join us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. So you may have heard some of the comments that we were making just before you came in, and
Yes.
one of the questions that we'd like to start with is, what drove you to consider running for state senate? There's been plenty of concerns, but people focus differently, and we'd like to hear your reasoning for stepping up.
Absolutely. Thank you for the good work that you all continue to do. I appreciate it. I check in with you all intermittently, not faithfully, but I really appreciate what you do, and having a voice for so many people that can't get what I would call real news and real information. So thank you. I really, 2020 got involved. I'm a lifelong Republican, conservative, grew up talking about politics at the dinner table. I thought everybody did that. My parents were very conservative, and I've just always lived that way, whether I'm out front or just living it. And I would hope people would assume good things with that. I know in this season, maybe not everyone does, but 2020 election really rattled my cage. I got involved in quite a few grassroots organizations and decided I needed to do something. The organization that I was working with, still am, we were really charged with and wanted to find people to run for office and impose conservative views on local politics. So I ran for city council, beat the unbeatable incumbent, and am proud of my voting record for the last 4 years. And in doing so, I really assumed I'd be doing that for another 8 years and term out. And the more I looked into having an understanding on local politics and understanding how the state is heading in a color purple that it's a little more beyond purple in my opinion now, but we've got to stand in the gap here and impose conservative views on this state. I also did a recollection of my voting record, and I voted every time for my opponent because I had no choice. Not happy here and there with some of the voting record, but certainly not happy about not having a champion for me, my family, my community, and in talking with some other folks, I decided I should bite the bullet. Really didn't have much of a choice ever other than a Republican and a Democrat, and I'm not happy with the Republican that is so-called representing me now. So I feel very compelled. I do believe that we have a great opportunity here with a handful of true conservatives to push on, lean into some of the legislation that's coming across the board, into the hopper and out, and clean it up, keep it conservative, and not add in extras or things that may be purchased per se. They need to be really, truly representing the people that live here in Georgia, and I'm committed to doing that.
Well, that's neat. So you mentioned purple, and given what we've and are learning regarding our elections in Georgia and really across the country now, there's questions surfacing regarding, is that change, is the fact that we've lost seats in the House and the Senate, and we seem to be eroding a conservative majority. Do you believe that is accurate, or do you believe that may be something that is somehow being maneuvered in the background, given what we're learning about the elections? I know that's a little bit of a loaded question, but I think it's important to many people.
I'll take it. I'll take it loaded. I believe it is C, all of the above. I do believe we have more malfeasance in our elections than anyone could really possibly believe. I have been fighting with and toward more fidelity within our election process. I even believe things were going wrong back when in 2000 when George W. Bush and the hanging chads happened. I had real questions then, was pregnant with our first kid, and could not plug in a level at that time with the small, starting our family. But I've had head scratchers about that as far back then. I watched our city of Roswell go from predominantly conservative and not all out there conservative leadership to all out there liberal leadership just this past fall. A curious over 9,000 brand new voters that have never voted in a municipal election showed up, showed out. Is it real? Is it not? I don't know. It's very concerning. I do think that there is a wave. I think there's a national mandate out on liberals, on Democrats to come in and usurp any sort of conservative town, jurisdiction, county area. And it's in a lot of different manners, whether it's taking housing or inserting oneself in different organizations, or let's just say trolling candidates that they don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced that long before I was on a public election. I've served in PTA, and I've had people troll me through the school district in Fulton County for years for pushing in on things like imposing mask mandates on our students in school. The school district isn't my doctor, nor are they sovereign over my kids. So some things like that, I feel like we've got a machine working, and it's time that conservatives stand up.
Lee, let me ask you, are you seeing on the ground the average person on the street? Are they waking up to this, opposed to the trolls and the people infiltrating? Do you see your compadres in your jurisdiction, seeing what's happening?
Yes, more and more. And it's really refreshing. I know when I got really active in 2021, I thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this for another year? And now we're 5 years in, and people say, when am I going to get back to normal? I'm like, this is normal, baby. Like, this is what we should have been doing all along. Sure, things change, seasons change, and we have different desires and different goals, whether it's political, familial, community based. But more and more people are speaking up or asking one leading question and then getting the full detail, and then they'll cross check with someone else. And it's really a uniting feeling, and people saying, gosh, I've run around with this crowd who I really enjoy, but they really aren't aligned with me once I ask a couple of questions, or they're turning people. Like, you mean that's going to impact my taxes? You mean that's impacting what my kids are seeing or learning or just being spoken to about in school? And some of the legislature that's been imposed is going across the line of public. It's going into private and homeschooling. That's complete overreach. So when you can have a resounding comment about something that impacts your family directly, not even just this minute, but coming soon to a school near you, it hits home, and everyone, supposedly we should adjust. So I am seeing a lot of opinions change, or gosh, I didn't know that. How could I be so stupid? And it's not being stupid. It's just we've been oppressed, really, with our voice. Just what you spoke about a minute ago, Bill, and Todd, on X, of all places, not having the viewership that is there. If you've got a text thread going and you got 50 or 100 people that are on, and it's only showing 6, that tells you something.
Yeah. There's you mentioned what people believe and I think what they want too. That during the last year, maybe a slightly less than last year of Trump's campaign, one of the themes that came out was common sense, away from party, away from any one issue, but just plain common sense. And what we heard from the ground in our conversations was there really wasn't, and I don't think is, a great difference between what people want. And I think that's true whether you look in the outlying counties, whether you look at the downtown counties, whether you look at the inner city. I mean, people tend to want, they want safety for themselves and their family. They want a decent opportunity to get education for their kids. They want a chance to make a living, somehow make progress toward the American dream, if you will. They don't really want different things. And one of the theories that seems to be floating around is how much of what we're seeing in these protests, in these marches and other things, and people fighting ICE, is being created created so that we'll see it by outside influences, outside parties. And I referenced specifically some of the findings that were given to Trump about a month and a half, 2 months ago, about something they're terming Riot Inc., where the people are being paid to go do these protests. How do, and this is a tough question perhaps, but how do we make sure that people are seeing reality in terms of, especially like you mentioned, you're in Roswell and here in Forsyth County. I mean, we've had activists for an organization called Indivisible, which is one of these paid for organizations. As a matter of fact, one of their members apparently sits on the board of elections in Forsyth County, if you can believe that. Wow. And the question is, how could this be? And how much of what folks are seeing is this, they're small groups paid to go do some of these things. How do we get the truth to folks, I guess, is one question. That's a broad one.
It's a behemoth, but in my opinion, it's a real one. One of the things that I believe Democrats have cornered the market on is the social media game. And I think Republicans, conservatives are starting to up their game. But when seeing people like J6 Ali Akbar, who has been on multiple riot scenes or different chaotic events or organized events. And I'm just using him because that's what came to mind when you said that. But I believe I've seen all sorts of clips on either text threads or social media sites or podcasts of the same person in multiple different events, big events. And for those to be shared, I think that is a big deal. I find social media exhausting on so many levels, but it is really, you've got to go in there and be aware of some of the things going on. And then again, talk to people you trust, talk to some people that may not align exactly, might give you a little funny look on, with the first question, but to just get some feedback, even if it doesn't align. But we've got to be better at communicating with one another. And I mean, the attack is real out there. People can't wait. There are folks that are organized to just track Lee Hills or just track Jimmy Smith down the street and load in and then get their friends to load in comments on social media. My philosophy is if you're saying my name and spelling it right, that's a win for me. But so there is risk, but there's not been a real place to go fact check. I mean, when we've had hair salon people doing CNN news fact checking, when fact checkers first came on the scene, it's really hard to believe any fact check. So it's opinion based or contrived. I don't have a silver bullet answer on that other than communicate. Yeah.
Todd, do you have another question?
Well, are people seeing, you mentioned a lot of these operatives, I call them, at different events, or people just showing up and getting massive social media followings within a period of weeks or months. And then all of a sudden they're the expert on the issue, showing up at investigations or whatever to drive certain narratives. Again, do people around you see that? I mean, you mentioned it, but are they starting to become aware of, and when the establishment doesn't say anything, that's silence is deafening, right? I mean, I guess I'm asking if the man on the street is actually becoming more aware of this.
Slowly but surely, yes, but it's not overwhelming at this point. And I believe we need overwhelming. I also believe that, and I welcome your feedback on this. I believe right now we've been under attack in a strangely veiled effort of all these special elections, which I understand if a seat is vacated, we've got to fill that, especially if we're in session or if there's something coming that we've got to fill that, or there's a long distance between the vacation of the seat and then the next term election cycle. But a lot of folks I'm speaking to are worn out. It's overwhelming. Is that really my district? Who are you voting for? And then, people want to know a month or two before qualification. And I'm like, you need to wait until qualification and see who pops up. You never know. I mean, you can be all in for somebody. That's great. Do your homework, but you never know who may qualify there at the last minute. Could be a great person, could be not so great. But I'm hearing from many people that they're overwhelmed and exhausted. I'm like, well, don't give up. We got a big midterm here that will dictate a lot for us. And it's going to be crucial to get to the primary for this one. And I do believe there's been a little reprieve here, January, February, but as you know, we're 2 weeks out for qualification. So it's the heat's coming.
Yeah, sure enough. You may have heard us speaking just before you joined about the fact that so much was quiet following the discovery of these illegal aliens coming in through Hartsfield Airport.
Yes.
And we've seen that over and over again. There's been issues that crop up, we'll call it the assault against Colton Moore, where a general counsel who isn't even an attorney in Georgia, yet is acting as general counsel for the Speaker of the House, threw Colton Moore to the ground. And, nobody speaks up about it. And so I had asked that question nose to nose with elected folks. And the answer I got was, well, we can't really push back because we still have to get the next bill past John Burns or past Burt Jones or whoever. Are you prepared for whatever that's going to call on you for should you get elected? Because these, they assume people aren't going to fight because they have to play nice in the sandbox. And, you look at Trump, I don't think he's ever played nice in the sandbox. He finds ways to get done what needs to get done. And sometimes that isn't, just a happy-go-lucky, hey, let's have a handshake and move forward. What do you think it's going to take?
Grit. Absolute grit. I just spoke to a group in Cherokee about a week and a half ago, and I said, this may be a quick run. I will win the primary. I will win in November, and it may be a 2-year in and out. I don't know, but I can't sit here and warm everybody up for a year and hope for the best in the second year of a term. And I believe people get drunk on the name tag. I call it titles and tiaras. They get excited having the badge. I'm a senator. I'm a representative. And look, I don't mean disrespect to the office. I have mad respect for any elected office. It takes a lot of guts, a lot of moxie, a lot of time. And so for that, I have a lot of respect. But there comes a time where if we're losing the battle, what am I going to do sitting there getting to know everybody, glad handing? Like, I'm here with a group, representing a group that's representing the people and to get things done. So if I'm the Lone Ranger, which I've been quite a few times in the city of Roswell, only outvoted by the outlier Democrat. She voted one time more than I did on the outlier vote. But I'm willing to do that. I don't need any more friends there. That's not why I'm going. I hope I will have some allies that will be waiting for somebody that has the grit to push something forward and get on board. I understand that's not how it works down there. I also understand and have a clear view that that's why we're broken, because we're waiting around for everything, the climate to be just right. What I have been missing in my representation is a fighter. Everything that gentleman has supported has been championed by someone else. So it's time to have fighters. And I find that this kind of attitude is very contagious. Most people have been waiting for somebody like, oh my gosh, where has this movement been? And that's not about Lee Hills. This is about getting things straight and putting us on a more conservative trajectory. People don't move to cities that are liberal run. They run to cities that are conservatively run. Same with counties, same with states. Very desirable. Law and order. And I'm not talking stick 'em up shorty. I'm talking about just having accountability and expectations, following through, the grit to say what you're going to do, follow through, move to the next item. That's what people expect, as you said, on both sides. Most people want about the same thing. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be taxed to death. They want to know that the ship is being sailed well. The elections are being run with fidelity. I mean, I'm delighted that that's been picked up here, again, finally. I mean, I have been working with Jason Frazier on cleaning up the rolls and cross-checking the rolls in Roswell. Fulton County has never corrected the roll recommendations from Roswell. That was years before I came in office, and I did it twice and went through it with the GIS specialist. They didn't change anything, not one thing. So and we don't have I don't think, a mad problem, but their corporate or commercial properties that have registered voters there, or those names of businesses, are on the voter roll for the city of Roswell.
Well, with 159 counties, you can take the badness and spread it thin over a lot of area, and it
Yes.
becomes tougher and tougher to find.
Yes.
So as folks listen to you, they probably are saying to themselves, "Gosh, how do I learn more? Where can they go to learn more about your campaign and what some of your goals and plans are?"
Absolutely. My website is my name, Lee Hills for Georgia. That's LEEHILLSFOR, Georgia.com. I've got my phone number listed there, my core tenants. I know you were talking about Colton Moore's expose a couple of years back. I was celebrating a senior's 100th birthday when that broke, and I'm watching it on X unfold as I walk into the community, the senior community. I couldn't believe it. And I want to add this. The 4 years I was in office, in 24, I knew about our police department in Roswell getting updates from ICE about the number of people being dropped off in Roswell, not where they're from, not where they're going, just that they're being dropped off. And I can tell you with fidelity that one of my colleagues, sitting council member Alan Sells, and his wife saw the buses in East Roswell with, I don't want to say a number, but it was over 100 being dropped off in the parking lot at the old Kohl's shopping center. And that was happening on the regular. As soon as the 2024 election came and went and Trump won, that stopped. But we had no control. We didn't get to, not we elected, but the police force were not allowed to engage. However, the elected body was in full support of doing their job in the city of Roswell to prevent any sort of crime or whatever could unfold. But we have no idea where these folks have ended up. So that's a big deal. That's real. That's not just, it's not touching North Fulton. It is. So right. I'm committed to supporting ICE, to deporting. We've got to get that straight. I didn't sign up to pay for that. Most people didn't, no matter how you vote. I mean, when you've got 150 people that have been shot and killed in Chicago in January and nobody's reporting that, and we've had 2 ICE, people killed through ICE, engagements, and that's blown up the news. That's just in 2026. We got a real problem with advertising and getting the news out. And we've only got 3 million that have 1 million deported, 2 million self-deport. What does that leave us? Over 25 million to go. That's a drop in the bucket, and they're in our cities. So that's,
Lee,
I
really like what I'm hearing. We have to have you back down the road because
I'd love that.
You're singing our song.
Well, it's a song worth singing, and it's a fight worth fighting, and somebody's got to do it. I'm willing to go. I guarantee people will sign up with me. I guarantee it. Mm-hmm. We've got to fight. That people keep telling me, well, Lee, why are you doing this? Why don't you just move to Florida? And who is going to fight for Georgia? Like I've been here 24 years, and I say I just pack up and go. Like somebody's got to stand up, and there's safety in numbers. It's very attractive. I call it the power of positive peer pressure, and it's real. And I've had a couple of Democrats that are supporting me. I'm like, I can't believe this. Not just this issue, but so to your point earlier, there are a lot of people that are, that just want peace and harmony in our state and our country.
Yep. Lee, thank you so much for being with us today. We will look forward to having you back soon. Absolutely. And hearing the latest as things emerge and events get planned and other things. So Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, gentlemen. I wish you the best for the coming week.
Thank you.
Take care. Great stuff, Bill.
It gives you hope for Georgia.
Sure does. Just a point of reference. I'm not obviously Eugene didn't show up. We'll get back in touch with him, but I have 13 minutes on the zoning issue from another state. If you want to do that, I don't know how much more you got to go.
Well, we have probably enough to cover. We'll see. We might use a little bit of that toward the end, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
All right. Since Eugene, you isn't here, we will still stay with the 1st District, and I wanted to share this, which popped out, and we believe that this is accurate. One of the people running is Jim Kingston, running for a 1st District congressional seat. This apparently is him, and apparently the sister worked with Stacey Abrams' campaign, and you can see him here with Biden and some of the Biden buddies. So where does that leave us with our feeling here? Uncomfortable, I think, is the word. So people need to know this. We will continue to make stuff like this available, but this came out the last 24, 48 hours, and we think it's important. We had some constituents call and say, hey, have you seen this? We think this is important. So let's see. With that, let's see what we go to next here. Let's talk about another campaign a bit. And we hope to hear more from both of these candidates as we go forward. But the race between Burt Jones and now we'll call him for the time being, the newcomer, Rick Jackson, seems to be heating up. Here's a post by Burt Jones let's see, this was 2 days ago. And he says, Rick Jackson's company helps abort babies and transition transgender minors. When you see his TV ads, know how they were paid for with Planned Parenthood money. That's a lot of different things to unpack, and an interesting graphic along with it. So we decided to do a little bit of research into these claims and find out a little bit more about Rick Jackson. We hope to be able to talk to both Burt Jones and Mr. Jackson in the coming days. So one of the concerns revolves around this company, Locum Tenens, which is Latin and basically is a pseudonym for hold the place for a potentially a job, if you will. And it's a job posting site similar to Monster or some of the others that allow folks to pay to place an opportunity for a job and then take applications. What caused the claim apparently in Mr. Jones' tweet there is this job, which is working for Planned Parenthood. Now, there was not an immediate response apparently from the Rick Jackson campaign, but they did respond to Breitbart and provide this. So the Breitbart said the Jackson campaign did not respond initially to a Breitbart News request for comment, but after the story came out regarding this job placing, a campaign official who insisted the campaign had no record of receiving Breitbart's inquiry through the website submitted a response, and that person is Dave Abrams. So right off the bat, we would ask Dave Abrams to make contact with CDM. We'd like to have an open dialogue and learn more about all of this. But the statement from Mr. Abrams reads, self-dealing politician Burt Jones is losing the governor's race and now launching a disgusting attack against Rick Jackson, who he knows has given millions to support pro-life causes. Rick Jackson is pro-life and has fought for vulnerable children his entire life. Locumtenens.com is a free self-service job posting site similar to ZipRecruiter and Monster.com. Jackson Healthcare, the firm, by the way, that's owned by Rick Jackson and founded, does not review or edit postings to the site and does not recruit or provide such positions. Unfortunately, some states will still allow these procedures, but when Rick Jackson is governor, he'll criminalize transgender procedures on minors. He believes anyone who mutilates a child belongs 6 feet under the jail. So that was the response from Dave Abrams with the Jackson campaign. We will continue to delve into campaign contributions and other things that revolve around both candidates, very frankly. One of the things that's happened is Rick Jackson appears to have filed suit against Burt Jones revolving around the leadership campaign fund, same thing that was created for Brian Kemp and for other groups within the legislature several years ago. Hank Sullivan has written extensively about this, and it essentially is an almost unlimited mechanism for gaining campaign funds that goes beyond traditional campaign restrictions and requirements. So it can come in from out of state. In some cases, it can come in from beyond out of state. And there's much looser requirements about these leadership campaign funds than has been traditional in gubernatorial and other state races and even federal races. There's been much written about this, and this case that's been filed centers around that particular leadership fund that Burt Jones is able currently to tap into. So we will see what happens there. Bear with me. All right. Did you want to take one more break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk?
Sure.
Some
Why don't we
health-related news?
hear from the wellness company? We'll be right back.
Great.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
And Bill, I talked about, and our guest talked about our X suppression. I will just say that Truth Social, we have over 7 million followers on armedforces.press, CDM, and the Georgia Record. And the Georgia Record is growing close to 50,000 in itself. So it's a big channel for us. We get a lot of engagement on Truth Social. So please find one of our channels there to follow if you can't get what X is not showing you. Back to you.
Great. All right, let's pivot over. We're going to talk health and health-related issues for a couple of minutes. This is not just discussion of health for individuals. This now has a bearing on Georgia, and I'll explain why. The notion of ivermectin and other antiparasitics has been kicking around since the CDC and others tried to prevent folks from using ivermectin during the COVID era, if you want to call it that began early 2020. And yet we found out over the course of the last 5 years that ivermectin is actually very effective. It has very good efficacy, is the word, against COVID, even can act like a prophylactic, meaning it protects you from even getting it in many cases, and can treat other diseases. Now what's coming out is ivermectin and other types of antiparasitics, specifically fenbendazole or metbendazole, can be effective, it appears, in treating certain types of cancers, perhaps many types of cancers. And I was lucky enough to be able to spend some time with Nick Hulsher, who works with the McCullough Foundation. He is both their epidemiologist, but also the administrator of the organization. And we get a chance to compare notes on ivermectin as it relates to making it available across the country, very frankly. And I just want to play a couple of minutes of this, and then it'll direct you to where you can look at the entire interview. More cancers, more turbo cancers across the population. I thought this was a very important topic to get us together and discuss. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thanks for having me. And yeah, a very important topic. Cancers are propagating among the global population.
And it's not getting better. It seems to continuing to be getting worse. Yes. So take us through, if you could, your background with the McCullough Foundation and how these findings are being discovered, perhaps where they're coming from, and some of the ways that we can see that there might be efficacy here with these compounds, please.
Yes, so I'm an epidemiologist. I have a Master of Public Health degree from the University of Michigan. And so I have formal training in looking at disease patterns and, being able to read studies, basically. And so I'm at the McCullough Foundation. We've published now over 20 scientific peer-reviewed studies since 2023. looking at various aspects of COVID-19 vaccines, these cancers, these turbo cancers, and many other things. But what we do is we investigate, pertinent public health issues, and one of them is this widespread cancer debacle. Now, all of a sudden, most people will know somebody in their family who has developed turbo cancer, very rare, aggressive cancers that kind of appear at stage 4 very quickly. And we do see cancer rates rising in younger age groups with official data. And so we know for sure it's happening now. It's been in an upward trajectory for the past many decades, but it's really took a step up since 80% of Americans were injected with genetic injections. And so one very promising class of compounds, antiparasitics, has shown now in hundreds of preclinical, which basically means in animal models and in the test tube, so in vitro studies, shows immense promise in helping to defeat cancer.
That's amazing. And so let me pause it there, and let me explain why this is important. So let's go back here for a minute. The reason this is important and critical in Georgia right now is there is a bill in front of our legislature right now. It is HB 1089, and it would allow initially ivermectin to be over the counter in Georgia. Now, already there's been, I think, a couple dozen states that are considering it, and 6 or 7 have already passed it. And so we're already not the leader, but we should be part of the group, if you will, in the lead of this. Now, here's the bill, 1089, sponsored by the list of folks you see on the left there, and it is currently in the House Committee, the Health Committee. Here is the bill, believe it or not. When you see most of the bills that are considered, we've talked about them being, very long sometimes to hide stuff in them. In this case, it's very short. It literally has a couple of preambles and then this. And in the space of several paragraphs, they define that ivermectin would become over the counter. Now, keep in mind, ivermectin, and if you listen to the interview with Nick Hulsher, you'll find that ivermectin has been around for decades. It is considered very safe. It is considered safe along with traditional cancer treatments or used by itself along with other types of compounds that add to its efficacy. So very little downside. And one of the things that I was concerned about is I heard, well, this may not get a lot of attention. Well, this should get an astronomical amount of attention. Ivermectin has been proven effective in a number of different settings. You can find it being used to treat folks today. It's gotten Nobel awards. It's gotten notoriety over decades. I believe it goes back to the 80s, perhaps the 70s, when it was first discovered and began getting produced. This is a great example of something the legislators can take action on to improve the condition of the people of Georgia. It's almost a no-brainer. Other states have already done it. There's no reason this shouldn't be passed. It's simple, it's direct, and it's a win for everybody. So one of the reasons we wanted to get this out was so that the legislators would have in hand the necessary information to make logical, smart decisions, and very frankly show that they're willing to take action on behalf of Georgians. We will put this out in the Georgia Record along with several supporting documents, along with the connection to the original interview. It's about 30 minutes long and goes into the experience, some of the studies, and some of the findings of the McCullough Institute, who is world-renowned at the work that they do and should provide a very solid basis and compelling argument for the legislators to take action. and we recommend they do. So with that, we will have that out by tomorrow, and we hope that it is well heard. And if necessary, we can facilitate conversations with Mr. Hulcher or with others, if necessary, to help alleviate any concerns that might be left there, but there should be few, perhaps none. So, all right. Let me, if I can, we'll bear with me for a second, Todd. We'll come right back and we'll go to a couple other things if we can. Okay. We have spoken in the past about Mr. Kirill Dmitriev, and yet again, he posts something very interesting. And he did this just in the last 24 hours, I believe. And again, he calls out Q and the Anons enabled the awakening, as many now understand and apologize. Well, we don't need any apologies, but we do recommend people begin to get the sense of, wait a minute, why do they keep going back, and why is he and others, including Trump, referring to, again, this Q movement, and what might that mean? Well, here's something that Trump posted. This goes all the way back to 2020. Trump said, I want all Americans to understand we are at war with an invisible enemy, and but that enemy is no match for the spirit and resolve of the American people. Now, one of the things that we'll note too, bear with me for a second while I pull this up. Trump was actually asked finally, after the Q posts began surfacing, which goes all the way back, believe it or not, to 2017. Trump was asked about Q after it being out there. I think this occurred in about late 2020, maybe early 21. So they'd already been out for, the better part of 4 years, 5 years. And finally, somebody asks him, what are you saying about this? What do you know about this? And here was his answer.
At the crux of this theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Is that supposed to be a bad thing?
With his traditional humor. Now, think about what the question was. Now think of it in light of what is being learned through these release unredacted now of these Epstein files. Things that people would not have even believed could exist in the world are now documented to some extent in these emails and communications going back and forth and things that have yet to even be seen. We won't speculate on what those are, but we have said and tried to portray for folks that this is going to get dark. It's going to be troubling. Think about that and think about the question he was just asked. And that goes back to 2020. And the posts go back to 2017. That's when they began. Let's go back here for just a minute. We're going to ask some questions that, again, we're not going to give you the answers because I'm not sure we know the answers, but the questions themselves should spark interest in those that are beginning to pay attention. Here's one more post from Kirill Dmitriev. This goes back to August of last year. These are the questions. Just ponder. We're not going to give you answers because we don't know the answers yet. But why is this? Are these things being found as we learn more about these Epstein releases? Why was Epstein fixated on 23andMe, the company that does DNA testing? He gave away hundreds, maybe thousands of test kits. Why was he doing that? What was he hoping to find, or what were they hoping to accomplish? Who started 23andMe and what connections did they have? We'll answer this one next time when we're together. Why the fixation with children in any regard, and what they did to and with them? And again, this is all coming out through these releases. Here's a really weird one. Why did Hillary and Abedin ask for the location of the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh? Gilgamesh, one of the earliest stories in recorded history. And why did they ask for the location of the burial chamber and the burial locations of the Nephilim? They did this in an email, believe it or not, that's in the Epstein files. Why has the mainstream media been working have they been working to find truth or to cover it up? And if so, why? And why did the media avoid asking Trump the question you just heard about the Q movement for several years? They seem to, but at all cost, avoid even asking the question. And the Q post again began back in October 28, 2017. As we go forward, we seem to see more and more commonality. One of the things that's written in the Q post is the phrase "future proves past." Is that what we're seeing? Is that why so many of these things that are coming out now seem to be reflected somehow in the Q posts? We will see. All right. With that, back to you, Todd.
Well, I think we've filled the hour, so we won't run the interview with Jan Greenhawk from the Easton Gazette on the zoning issue, but the zoning thing has been we've talked about it in Forsyth County. We've talked about it in Connecticut, and it's also happening in Maryland, where the state is taking over local zoning and destroying the communities. So if you want to learn more about that, go to our Rumble channel, CDN1, and look for the interview with Jan Greenhawk a couple days ago, and you can explore what's happening in other states like Maryland and on the Connecticut Sentinel as well. That's all I've got. I'll be on the skiff tomorrow, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday. Bill, anything with you?
We'll be back with the Georgia Show on Wednesday. And thanks to everybody for being here. And tell your friends, get that X thing pumped up for next time. We'll see you.